tous à toutes pour votre patience de rester avec nous jusqu'à ce dernier moment. Je voudrais bien remercier surtout Denis, Rossella, toute la société Cezanne et l'équipe au Granet pour cette occasion de rêver un peu plus sur l'avenir de CCRD et tout ce qu'on pourra faire ensemble. Ça, c'est très important, ensemble, ici dans ce lieu extraordinaire. Donc, I'm going to speak mostly in English today, and it's on purpose to underscore how the CCRD might position itself in an international context, and I'll conclude in French to speak to more local responsibilities, so I'll try to make it quick. Est-ce qu'on... Oui, savoir, oui, merci. The CCRD promises to preserve, promote, and propel Cezanne studies from the past through our present and into the future. Under the auspices of the Société Cezanne, the CCRD will maintain the online catalog raisonné, house an extensive library and archives for on-site consultation, as we've heard, organize scholarly and public events, participate in international conferences, publish new research, and inform forthcoming exhibitions. At this early stage, I will share some possible paths forward for meaningful engagement and exchange with scholars, students, and the public alike, within and beyond X. In keeping with this simultaneously local and international approach, you'll permit me to speak in English and then French. So first, I'd like to review some very recent and forthcoming events that have occurred both online and in person, all of which are intended to grow awareness around the CCRD. It's true that all of us are very cognizant of what's happening here, but it's something that we need to share loudly and boldly with the world. So I recently partnered with an early career research network that exists online. It's an international and growing group of art historians, curators, and conservators. And we hosted an Instagram takeover on their account in August. You'll excuse that large photo of me, but I walked viewers through the exhibition galleries and here at the JAS in 2 dedicated posts and extensive stories that together had over 15,000 views just in 24 hours and is now saved to the account's page. These behind-the-scenes takeovers and partnerships are one way that the CCRD can maintain a social media presence going forward through its own account, which maybe should be created or incorporated into Cezanne 2025, but also in collaboration with others. I also guest authored the ECR's summer newsletter, which was a special issue devoted to Cezanne, and a similar feature, thanks to Nancy Locke, will appear in the Association of Historians of 19th Century Arts newsletter later this year. In December, Jean-Rémy and I will be speaking on a Zoom panel hosted by the ECR to share more about his upcoming exhibition, which we've had the pleasure of hearing about, and the new resources available at the CCRD. And in February 2026, Gloria and I will co-chair a session at CAA, the College Art Association Conference. It's happening in Chicago. Our session is called Seeing Cezanne Anew, and we will have 6 speakers, some of whom are here today, and include art historians, conservators, and conservation scientists. The CCRD, in my view, should continue, by way of its director, to represent itself at international conferences, participate on panels, and contribute to roundtable discussions to promote the center's resources and research, to learn from peer institutions, and to collaborate with scholars, students, curators, conservators, and collectors interested in Cezanne. So I know we've looked quite a bit at the Catalogue Raisonné already, but I want to take a few minutes to talk about how extraordinary it is, this collaborative project led by Jane and several of this week's speakers, made possible by many more public institutions, private collectors, researchers, conservators, and Cezanne enthusiasts alike. This is a free online tool that is available to anyone, anywhere, bringing Cezanne to everyone worldwide. And I can't overstate how essential it is that the catalog be continually maintained. So this will be very familiar to many of you, but for anybody for whom this tool might be new, I just want to reiterate some of the functionality that Jane already mentioned this morning because it's unmatched. This is a unique tool in the world of especially 19th century art history. Organized by FWN numbers, the illustrated catalog can be viewed and searched chronologically by medium, by subject, by size, by collection, by exhibition or publication, with object pages that, as we've seen, often include additional materials, primary sources, historic and historiographic photographs, and related works. Again, this flexibility in both searching and organizing results makes it totally unparalleled in the scholarly world of Impressionist and Post-Impressionist artists. It's invaluable and enables quantitative and qualitative discoveries. As Fabienne showed us a little bit, you can see the sketchbooks, several of which have been digitally reconstituted, reuniting now disparate sheets. You could, for example, see all the works as we know of a single collector. Here I'm showing Edgar Degas. And there is something to be said about how many artists still today are collecting works by Cezanne. You could also find all of the works shown in Cezanne's seminal solo exhibition at Volar's Gallery in Paris in 1895, not only to look across the exhibition in a single glance, but also in relative scale, which allows you to look comparatively across the works. And you will be happy to know that very much thanks to Jane, the Granet exhibition is already accounted for on the Catalogue Raisonné. Here, by clicking on the exhibition, we can see all 131 works, and this is where you'll want to pay attention, because the Catalogue Raisonné in this instance is the most up-to-date record for the exhibition, which has 131 works, and we'll get to why there's that extra one. But I wanted to highlight this extraordinary rediscovery to again underscore the fact that this is a living database and it requires human input in an age of AI. We need people to help keep this catalog current, whether it's a new color image or updated provenance or additional exhibition history. And I'm showing here the updated entry for the portrait of Gustave Boyer, which is shown in X here for the first time since 1956. And many of you, I'm sure, know the history of its discovery. But we might together then imagine ways to refine the catalog, to map related works. For example, here tagging all of those painted in the Grand Salon at the Jas. I have two such works here. The one on the left was found shortly before installation began at the Granet. It's incredible that it made it into the exhibition, while the work on the right is still whereabouts unknown. So just as exhibition projects can help locate seemingly lost works, the continual maintenance of the Catalogue Raisonné will help track, trace, and transmit the artist's oeuvre to guarantee its accuracy, accountability, and accessibility. Additionally, as the online Catalogue Raisonné is editable, as we know, it can serve as a more definitive and updatable record, as Gloria alluded to, than a printed book. The work on the left joined the checklist for the Granet exhibition after the printed exhibition catalog went to press. So it's not included there as an exhibited work, but it is included here online to record that it was in fact in the exhibition. This is only possible thanks to the collective knowledge and generosity of scholars, public institutions, and private collectors. And I very much hope and am encouraged by both Gloria, Anne, and others that the CCRD might one day serve a similar function as a repository for conservation images and findings, taking advantage of material recently or forthcoming online and otherwise kept, as Gloria said, in object files across collections. The exciting things that are happening in Chicago, or for example, here at the Nelson Atkins, who recently published an online catalog of 19th century French paintings, features new technical images and essays about their 3 paintings by Cezanne. So whether it's the backs of the paintings, x-rays, canvas thread counts, watermarks, or pigment analysis, The more this material becomes available, the more we all can benefit for research purposes, even if the material were to remain confidential. Jane alluded to the fact that the Catalogue Raisonné assembles information, not all of which, understandably, is made public. If it was perhaps only available for consultation on site, a centralized archive of conservation images, studies, and findings would be, again, unique in the world of 19th century art history and an important growing archive. So looking a bit beyond the Catalogue Raisonné and individual works of art, the CCRD could host an online chronology of Cezanne's life and works with links to the Catalogue Raisonné. One day, perhaps even annotated transcriptions, translations, and if possible, facsimiles of Cezanne's letters, as Jane alluded to provide a digital critical edition of the artist's correspondence. Taking the Van Gogh Letters project perhaps as an example, the CCRD could perhaps partner with an expanded group of scholars, even graduate students, to collectively contribute to a comprehensive, searchable online database. I, as a graduate student, was part of such a collaborative project around a 16th century manuscript in the BNF's collection and can attest to the power of collective, cross-institutional, and interdisciplinary collaborative research. The Société's series of publications devoted to Cezanne sites, as Denis has already suggested, could continue under the CCRD, perhaps with Cezanne and Lestat, and conceivably an exhibition, one might say, even in Marseille. Another exhibition that certainly did not get its due and could perhaps be restaged at the Granet on the quarries, that was at Princeton University Art Museum and open only 5 days in March 2020 because of the pandemic, and therefore it never traveled as planned to the Royal Academy in London. In addition to publications and exhibitions, the CCRD could be a friend and partner to contemporary artists interested in Cezanne with an artist in residency program. Here are just a few contemporary artists with whom I've spoken and showed an interest in Cezanne, and they're working across the US, in France, Canada, Senegal, China, and Japan, and I'm sure the list would go on. The CCRD could also welcome fine arts students as well, for example, partnering with the New York Studio School, where Cezanne is a fixture of coursework devoted to drawing as well as figurative and plein air painting, thanks in large part to the school's former dean, the late Graham Nixon, whose work, an example of which I'm showing you here, is in the National Gallery in Washington, was very much in dialogue with Cezanne, and it's worth noting that it was Graham's wife, Dita Amory, who mounted the exhibition, Madame Cezanne at the Met. The CCRD could also partner with conservation programs, for example, Northwestern's Center for Scientific Studies in the Arts, which, as Anne showed us, recently examined a still life in the Cincinnati Art Museum's collection using non-invasive imaging techniques to learn more about this mysterious portrait beneath the surface. And again, this only happened in 2022. The CCRD, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself, should be in good standing with all of these partner institutions, whether it's Villa Albertine in New York, the INHA in Paris, surely the National Gallery in DC with John Rewald's papers, to make these archives digital and accessible, Volard at Orsay, Venturi, which Michaela spoke so beautifully about this morning. Ostensibly, there are many for whom the CCRD could be a welcome and meaningful, mutually beneficial partner and home. Donc, avec le succès de Cezanne 2025, il nous faut continuer ce dialogue au niveau local, avec la ville d'Aix, bien sûr, avec les Aixois, la région, le pays et au-delà, en Europe, aux États-Unis, en Asie et dans le Moyen-Orient, où il y a à ce moment beaucoup plus en plus d'œuvres de Cezanne. Il faut développer des initiatives à vocation citoyenne et pédagogique pour rendre l'œuvre de Cezanne accessible au plus grand nombre, tout en assurant la visibilité du centre à l'international et représenter l'institution dans les instances académiques et culturelles, en personne et en ligne. Il sera aussi important d'ancrer le CCRD dans la vie locale pour faire du JAS un lieu de vie pour les citoyens aixois et les communautés de la région. Nous pourrions envisager un programme d'événements pour inviter le public régulièrement à profiter au JAS et du CCRD. Un soir par semaine, par exemple, pourrait être dédié à l'organisation d'une soirée au jazz, un concert, un spectacle de danse, une lecture, un film. Tous les mercredis, on pourrait créer un programme pour accueillir les enfants et les familles, etc. En profiter de la petite galerie que Madame la maire a déjà mentionnée et qui sera réimaginée ici. Tout est réuni pour le CCRD au Jas de Buffon, dans la ville natale de l'artiste, pour devenir la référence internationale dans l'étude, la conservation et la valorisation de l'œuvre de Paul Cézanne. Maintenant, c'est à nous de jouer. Et merci.